Greetings, everyone. Welcome to episode number 4 of Sam's Science Spotlight. I'm Miss Sam. I'm the children's librarian at the Eastlake Library, and today art and science will collide because we are doing an experiment called Drawing on Water, featured in this book, Extreme Garage Science for Kids, and it is by James and Joanna Orgill. So what do you say we put on our thinking caps, gather the necessary materials, and let's go do some art and science! Haha, science! Now here's what you need for this experiment. You need a glass baking dish like this with a nice flat bottom. You also need some warm water. Just warm water out of the tap will do. It does not have to be hot. You also need a dry erase marker. You know, the kind of marker that your teacher uses on the board and then can just wipe it away with a paper towel. Yeah, a dry erase marker. And, of course, you need some paper towels because I don't know about you, but I make a mess. So it's always good to have paper towels on hand. Now let's follow some instructions and see what happens in this experiment. Okay, now the first thing that we need to do is take our glass dish and your marker, and you're going to draw a picture on the glass dish. Now, I recommend starting very simple. Just a stick figure will do. You can't get really detailed with your drawing, okay? You can't put eyes in your stick figure, for example. Anything that's on its own is just gonna float away, you'll see. So what I did here is I put down, actually it's the back side of a poster. So I needed a white surface so that you guys could see my drawing better. Okay, so I'm going to draw a stick figure on the bottom surface of my glass dish. So let me take a look here, see how good a job I can do. It doesn't have to be great, really. Nobody has to be a true artist here. So, here we go. Okay. There is my stick figure. It's all right, right? Yeah, it passes. So now what you have to do is you have to let this dry for about 30 seconds. So, in the meantime, while this is drying, and this is the best camera angle I can get for you guys, so hopefully you'll be able to see what happens when we start this experiment. But in the meantime, I'm going to explain about the water. The water is warm water, remember? And what you're going to do is once this dries, you are going to pour the water over your drawing. However, there's a trick to it. You have to pour the water around your drawing. You're not going to pour the water directly on it because then you could just break it up. So you're going to pour the water around it, and it's just going to flood the whole area. And it's okay if once you pour water around, the water goes over top of your drawing. That's what should happen. So I think it's been about 30 seconds. So why don't we go ahead and try this out? I've got my warm water, and I'm going to pour around my stick figure. I'm going to stand up a little bit so I can see better. Oh, I think it's starting to work. Oh, I think I broke him. But that's okay because the effect is still going to work. Maybe I can fix his head. His head broke open. Here, I'll just add the rest of the water in here so that he floats higher. Now what should happen, you see, my broken head figure is floating around all by himself on the water here. Let me see if I can get his head back together. Nah, not quite. But that's, oh, I just ripped his head off. Happy Halloween. But you see what's happening is the ink the dry erase ink is floating on the water. You could make your figure dance. You could draw a balloon. How about drawing a balloon, and you can make the balloon float around in your dish. So it's pretty amazing how this experiment works. So if this does not work for you, possibly try checking the temperature of the water. Is the temperature of the water too hot or too cold? Those might prevent it from doing what it's supposed to do. Really warm water is what you want. If you can stick your finger in it and not burn yourself, you're good to go. So let's find out why does this work? What's the science behind it? So what's happening in this experiment? Well, it turns out the dry erase markers have 4 components to them. First component is pigment. Basically, it's the coloring of the ink. The second component is the solvent, and the solvent helps to keep everything nice and wet and ready to go for when you want to use the marker. The third component is the resin, and resin helps to keep the ink, it keeps the ink from separating. And the final component is called a release agent, and the release agent is how dry erase markers are able to be erased in the first place. Actually, a release agent is the only difference between a dry erase marker and a permanent marker. A dry erase marker has a release agent and can be erased. A permanent marker does not have a release agent and therefore cannot be erased. So, bonus fact for you. But in this experiment, what is happening is when I drew my figure on the bottom of this glass dish, everything was pretty well gelled and situated and ready to go, right? It was just drawing with a dry erase marker. When I introduced water, that's when things changed. And that is because the release agent that allows this to be erased, the released agent is an oily substance. And what happens when we mix oil and water? Do you know? Oil and water love to stay apart. They don't mix. Oil and water never mix. So what happens when I add water is that the release agent stays stuck to the bottom of the dish and everything else lifts off and separates. So the release agent, that oily layer, is still in the original position where I drew that figure in the first place. I can't see it though because it's actually a clear substance. So you can't see it, but it really is there. My figure is still sitting here. Everything else floats off because it's less dense than water and it has separated from that oil and lifted off. And then you can just blow your figure around and play with whatever art you have made. So, and this is something you can play with again and again and again and again. And if you would like to try different things, maybe try using different brands of dry erase markers. Does it make a difference? I don't know. I didn't try any other brands. Also, what happens if you use cold water? What happens if you use hot water? You might want to try that out too. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me this week. You can find this experiment in this book, Extreme Garage Science for Kids by James and Joanna Orgill. You can find this as well as many, many others just like it at the library. We have tons. You can visit our website. You can come in and browse. You can use our curbside service. If you're in a pinch for time, you can even call us up and we can pull things for you. If you're not sure what you want, we can listen to your needs and try to do our best and provide you with some things. So any way you'd like. Also, visit our website, we247.org, or as I say, we247.org. You know, it's a way to remember it. So, well, thank you guys, and I will see you next week. And don't forget, you don't have to be a scientist to do science. You just have to be curious. Take care, everybody.